Hello everyone. Now you will hear a brief retelling of the movie Queen Pins. Enjoy the movie. Connie, a suburban housewife in Phoenix, Arizona, is taken into custody at her home in the middle of the night. As she surrenders without resistance, she reflects on how this whole thing began months ago. Connie is a former Olympic race walker who won 3 gold medals, but this isn't the type of thing that gets you rich or well known. She currently resides with her husband Rick, an IRS auditor with whom she has a strained relationship. They spent a great deal of money on therapies since they were unable to conceive, but regrettably, Connie lost the baby when she eventually became pregnant. Rick made the decision to accept a traveling job at that point in order to allow for his 3-week monthly absences. He treats Connie badly when he gets home, telling her all the time that she doesn't have a job and that they wasted money because she insisted on getting many treatments when he was ready to give up after the first one. He also chastises her for overspending on her coupon fixation. That part about Connie having an addiction is true. She hoards coupons and uses them to buy a lot of stuff, which she then stores in the nurseries to cover up the walls and block out her grief. Rick's absence has given Connie the opportunity to get to know her neighbor JoJo, who runs a money-saving YouTube channel and is also completely fixated on coupons. She just had her identity stolen, therefore she is currently living with her mother Josie and is having difficulty obtaining employment. She sells makeup door-to-door and flirts with mailman Earl in her spare time, neither of which is working well. Connie always gives cashier Greg lots of coupons for her purchases at the grocery store. Her last ticket drops from over $100 to $16, but it also temporarily delays the queue. As Connie often says, the dollars will take care of themselves if you watch the pennies. She becomes depressed one day as she puts the groceries away on the shelf and notices the baby wallpaper amid the boxes. In an attempt to lift her spirits, she eats a large bowl of cereal. When it turns out that the cereal is stale, Connie emails the cereal manufacturer to complain, channeling all of her pent-up resentment. A few days later, Connie gets a letter from the manufacturer apologizing for the stale food along with a coupon for complimentary cereal in the mail. Greg tells her that she is not unique and that all businesses provide free coupons to customers who complain when she smugly walks to the market to exchange it. Even though there was nothing wrong with the items, this encourages Connie to write a lot of emails to the producers, which nets her a ton of freebie coupons. JoJo is startled to witness such a tactic and even tries to purchase a coupon from Connie since it would still be less expensive than the full price when Connie displays them to her. Her offer lets Connie understand that she could earn 100% profit and run a successful business by selling items she received for free. They could go and grab a bunch to resell, she realizes after looking online, as the coupons are produced in Mexico, not far from her home. JoJo is initially dubious, but since she is in over her head in debt, she agrees to assist. Ken, the loss prevention officer, is working at a small market in Nevada in the meanwhile. When a cashier has difficulties with a coupon, he promptly verifies its authenticity by checking it out. Since the elderly woman has been a customer for decades, the manager wonders if they can honor it nonetheless, but Ken says no since rules are rules. Ken's extremely bad manners get him some abuse from the elderly woman. Similar circumstances arise later when he boards an aircraft to go home. A mother asks him to kindly exchange seats with her daughter so she may see the landing to help her relax, but Ken snubs her request with a flourish, claiming the child has to learn a valuable lesson. Ken becomes irate and rants at the television when he eventually makes it to his lonely apartment in Utah. When Connie and JoJo arrive at the coupon factory the next day in Mexico, they witness the workers wrapping up their shifts. They choose to go up to Alejandro and Rosa, who are already breaking the law but don't appear to be really threatening. The two follow the couple in the car and fear they are about to be robbed. However, Connie and JoJo reassure them that they are there to assist, and Alejandro invites them to stay and talk. Connie and JoJo easily approach the couple with their offer. If they steal coupons for them, they would resell them in the USA and split the profits, after learning that Rosa is expecting and that their incomes are absurd. Rosa persuades Alejandro to take this action in favor of their unborn child even if he isn't sure it's a good idea. Creating a plan isn't too hard. Alejandro works in printing, while Rosa works in redemption. The factory is split between these two areas. Most of the time, neither party is aware of what the other does. Every coupon that is printed has an excess that is meant to be destroyed, but Alejandro may send those excesses to Connie and JoJo when their trucks are out distributing coupons across the United States. At the border, They will simply see a box containing coupons and not any unlawful activities, so there won't be any issues. After receiving their first package of coupons a few days later, the two decide to sell them and advertise it on Connie's channel by creating a basic website. Their company takes off and makes a ton of money very rapidly, but the supermarkets soon catch on. After receiving several emails and phone calls from managers lamenting the amount of money they are losing, Ken launches a comprehensive investigation to identify the credit card number used for one of the numerous purchases made using these coupons. After 11 days on the job, Ken visits the housewife who used the coupon and learns of a website that sells them, promoted by an African-American woman on YouTube. If you watch the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves, is the mantra Ken discovers when he gets back to the workplace and visits the website. Coming full circle, the pair is furious to learn that their PayPal account has been blocked for receiving excessively large amounts of money too rapidly. They must demonstrate that they are a reputable company in order to get it unfrozen. They choose to get in touch with Tina, a well-known hacker on the dark web, out of desperation because they don't know how to handle this correctly. After removing JoJo's videos, Tina chastises them for advertising this so openly as it can all be linked to them. She goes on to say that they must put up a front for their company in order to handle their finances. In addition to receiving several false identification documents, bank accounts, and a stash house to utilize, they will also be required to wait 6 months before spending any money in order to give any connections they may have made to their actual identities time to vanish. Tina provides them a unique secured USB stick to store their vital files, and after agreeing to collect 10% for her assistance, Ken can't pursue any more clues on the internet because of Tina's quick thinking. When he goes to the FBI, they tell him they'll look into it, but they find the coupon issue ridiculous and assign the case to Albert, their lowest desk employee. Albert takes the case since there's nothing better for him to do. Ken starts leaving daily messages for the FBI as the coupon fraud takes off once more, using JoJo's Cosmetics brand as a front and Tina's fictitious IDs. After 6 months, the couple is prepared to spend their money, but they had to clean it first because Tina mentioned it was unclean. Recalling a tale Rick told about one of his clients, Connie concludes they must purchase a large quantity of pricey items to be resold later, as the proceeds from such sales will be considered clean. After persuading every bank to give them the cash so they could use it to employ staff for their cosmetic company, Connie and JoJo go shopping and end up purchasing sports cars, yachts, a private jet, and even firearms. They then travel to Las Vegas and talk about their future plans there. JoJo will cover her mother's mortgage, while Connie wants to retry fertility therapy. Meanwhile, Ken finally gets the call he has been waiting for from the FBI. Albert tells him that since all cookie tracks have been erased by an expert, he is unable to take any action online. However, since the coupons are being sent via traditional mail, he will send someone who can assist. Ken encounters Postal Inspector Simon 2 days later. After acknowledging the issue, Simon requests that Ken purchase several coupons from the website so that they may thoroughly inspect the system. A few days later, Simon discovers the envelope claims it's from Kansas, but it really originates from Arizona because of the unique numbers on the online stamp. Given that Ken is already familiar with all the stores in the region, he offers to bring him along for the next flight to Phoenix. Going back to Connie, she hasn't told Rick that she's doing this, so she schedules an appointment at the fertility clinic and brings JoJo along for support. Connie chooses to utilize a donor's seed rather than her husband's after learning from the doctor that this is her final chance. Tina calls them again later that night to find out where all the money has disappeared. When she hears their justification, she becomes very irate since they failed to see that the money had already been cleaned by using JoJo's Cosmetics brand. They now have to sell whatever they purchased as quickly as possible and return modest sums of money each day to the bank. Connie informs Rick she has a sales job now and no longer uses coupons when he returns from his most recent business trip and he observes the new TV she bought. Rick is overjoyed and refers to her as his new wife. As a result, Connie makes sure to undergo the donor seed treatment. Meanwhile, Ken and Simon are questioning every cashier in the neighborhood to see if any of their customers have a problem with coupons. When they reach Greg, they discover what they're looking for. While he doesn't know Connie's name, he describes her to them and brings up her 2 pennies mantra, which Ken recalled seeing on the internet. They visit the local post office the following day to ask if any of the staff members are aware of a coupon blonde. While none recalls Connie, they all turn on Earl as they hear the word coupons since Earl was always following JoJo's money-saving advice on YouTube. Returning to the pair, the sheer volume of their goods is making it impossible to sell it all on eBay. They run into two men from a gun club when they go to a cafe for a drink. They visit the club later and bring all of their guns for sale. Even after JoJo's outstanding sales presentation, the leader still won't purchase them, so the two cement the deal by offering to give them a nice discount if they buy them all. Earl is questioned in private by Ken and Simon, but he won't provide them with any information. After being freed, he visits JoJo at home and gives her a message in an envelope that looks like ordinary mail amid the bills, which Josie grabs without realizing its significance. Unbeknownst to Earl, Ken and Simon have followed him there and will continue to monitor the area around the house for until long they see necessary. When JoJo returns home, it is almost nightfall and the men recognize her as the same African-American woman they saw in the YouTube video. JoJo gets out of her car and starts dancing in her driveway, celebrating the incredible bargain she struck earlier. The following morning, JoJo travels to the stash home as normal, but she is preoccupied with an argument with Josie and ignores the letter. Following her, Ken and Simon recognize Connie as the blonde from Greg's description and see her too. Simon gathers additional postal inspectors to start the operation properly. With more information at their disposal, they are able to identify Connie and JoJo with great ease, especially when they show Greg a photo and he verifies it. JoJo checks on her mom and heads to the kitchen for a snack later that night since she can't sleep. She eventually locates Earl's message telling her to leave town at that point, but it's too late. When Simon and his men arrive, they take Connie, JoJo, and Josie into custody. Earl is shocked to see JoJo's face on television when their houses and the stash house are searched and the arrest is reported. Rick and Josie promptly admit they had nothing to do with anything and agree to assist the authorities when the questioning starts. JoJo attempts to seem innocent by acting as though she has no idea what they are talking about, but they have her computer's videos on it. Connie, on the other hand, acknowledges her wrongdoing but expresses surprise at the possibility of spending life in prison for deception. They'll be easier on JoJo if Connie admits full responsibility for initiating the whole thing, so she seals the deal. JoJo is freed on bond. She believes Josie paid the amount, but Earl, who is waiting for her outside with roses, really made the payment. Sadly, Connie isn't as fortunate. Rick doesn't even pay the bond when he visits, and as a result, Connie files for divorce. As the inquiry goes on, the inspectors identify Alejandro and Rosa as the source of the coupons, but by the time they do, the pair has left. They are no longer wanted by the Mexican authorities since the trail has dried up. It turns out that Connie made the right choice in hiring a very costly attorney, since on the day of the trial, the attorney persuades the jury that Connie and JoJo had just taken advantage of a legal loophole, much like companies do on a regular basis. His strategy works, as Connie receives an 11-month prison sentence with the chance of release, while JoJo receives 10 days in jail and a year on probation. Simon and Ken are not pleased with the outcome and ask the state attorney for an explanation. The attorney says that the court was lenient with the ladies because the companies on the coupons pushed for it in order to prevent negative publicity. The $80 million this swindle cost these megacorporations are pennies in the bank. Since the investigation has ended and Simon has to depart, he tells Ken that although he's a fine man and appreciates working with him, he has to temper his attitude a bit. Everybody's life changes with time. Ken starts being a bit more civil, giving former customers who have phony coupons an exemption, and eventually working up the guts to create a profile on a dating app. After obtaining her desired divorce and having a successful fertility procedure, Connie spends several months behind bars carrying a large baby. The majority of the scam's proceeds are taken by the authorities, but fortunately, they overlook the boxes in the nursery, supposing they contain food. JoJo is then able to save those boxes, knowing all along that Connie had been concealing money in them. After dating Earl, he and JoJo go to Montenegro, a nation exempt from extradition, where they launch a new swindle under a different cosmetics company while they wait for Connie to return when she is eventually set free to resume their collaboration.